Okay, welcome to another episode of A Beer with Atlas. I'm Rich.
I'm Brian.
And this week, I gotta tell you, Brian picked this one, and I'm not excited about it.
Uh-oh.
Yep, and it's not that I'm not excited about the style of beer. I'm not excited about the maker.
The brewer.
The brewer.
Okay.
So this
That's
week,
fair.
we're going to try Leinenkugel's Oktoberfest. Now, I love a good Oktoberfest.
Yeah.
And I want to talk about a Marzen.
Okay, Marzen, yeah.
Marzen. We'll get into what a Marzen beer is after we get into this one a little bit. So let's open this thing up and.
So as we're opening this, what's the hesitation, Rich?
Well,
just you have a bad summer shandy story, or
clearly Alexa doesn't like.
Alexa's not a fan either.
She's not a fan either. No. It's not that I had a bad experience. I just, in general, no offense, Leinenkugel's fans, I don't like their beers.
Okay.
I don't. Their summer shanty, I never liked it. There's a couple others.
I feel like they have a wheat beer that's called Sunset Wheat.
Yes.
And it legitimately to me tastes like Fruity Pebbles, which I'm not a fan of.
That's a wheat beer that tastes.
Yeah.
Really?
It's weird.
That's interesting. All right, here we go. I'm gonna give this a shot. Leinenkugels Oktoberfest. I don't know, man.
Seems a little thin.
A little bit.
But you know what? It's not too bad.
Let's talk about where this style came from,
okay.
And then I'll talk about the background on which I like the background story on Leinenkugels. I like it a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about where this style came from first, and then we'll get into this. So tell me about a Marzen.
Well, I had to do a little research on this one because this is a style of beer that's been around, from what I could tell, 1553, right?
Wow.
So I've got some jotted notes, and we'll kind of get into what it is. But really what it is just a style of beer that comes from a place. So like our very first, I think it was our first one, we talked about the Berliner, what was it? The first one where we had the beer that came from...
The first one was Crossroads, was Fairy
Okay,
Nectar.
so the second one.
The second one was... I'm looking... Fat Tire.
Oh, yeah, so the Belgian.
Mm-hmm.
The Belgian white style.
There we go, yep.
So that was like a beer that came from that certain area of the world, really.
Okay.
And this is another one of those styles. So for a beer to be a Marzen, it's a style of beer that was made around Munich, Bavaria, was what it used to be called, now known as Germany.
Okay.
So it's a style that's from there. It's a beer that's usually brewed in cold temperatures, a lager style beer. So it's brewed and stored and kept colder. Takes longer to make these beers. A lot of brewers nowadays don't make lager. Takes a little bit more money. You have to have a little bit more different equipment because you have to keep stuff colder.
Yep.
It's really tough to do home brew. You have to have almost like an old freezer or something that you can temperature control to maintain the fermentation stuff. So what it really comes down to, a Marzen style, is it's kind of interchangeable with Oktoberfest. That style or that name came into play like in the 1800s. So before that, it would have been known as a Marzen style beer. They're made usually, from what I could tell, in the months April, this was by law, April 24th to September 28th was the time of the year you couldn't brew beer. Because I'm assuming the temperatures were so, this is, way, way before like refrigeration. This is putting beer in a cave.
Okay.
Like what they used to do in Lincoln. That,
yes.
For the Blue Blood brewer. So the beers that had to be brewed by that time, and then there wasn't anything to be brewed before that or during that time, I'm assuming because of contamination and people getting sick.
Sure.
So a Marzen, basically, the first part of that word really is March in German. So that's because it's like when they would brew that beer. Mm-hmm. This style of beer is brewed in March or April, and then it does its thing, and then it's ready for October or Oktoberfest.
Okay.
So that's kind of where the name and the style comes from. Really, it's just based on temperature and seasons and that sort of thing.
So is it the temperature and then the brewing? Well, of course, it's a brewing process, but it's that temperature that gives it that taste? That
Well, the
kinda-
temperature is what helps it make the style and some of the flavor. But the other part of it really is just like roasted malts. This is where we get the amber kind of color that we should hopefully see in here. This is another one of those kind of gateway beers, this style, the Oktoberfest,
Yep.
because if it's done, properly or really, really good, it's got a lot of flavor to it, right?
Right.
And it does have some color, so it doesn't look like a domestic beer.
Yep.
So it's probably halfway to a dark beer. People say I don't like dark beers. Well, this is like a halfway step to it, right?
That's a good explanation. Yeah.
And it should be malty. You would almost describe it as spicy because sometimes there's some rye in there, and that gives that sort of flavor. But really, for the most part, especially here in the United States, people aren't straying a lot from just a few base ingredients in these beers. There are not a lot of flavored Oktoberfest. You're not going to find like raspberries and stuff like that in here.
Right.
The IBUs are low, like probably 12 or 20. It's not going to blow you away, mostly because it wasn't supposed to. It's just a beer that's been around for almost 600 years.
Right. So low alcohol content too. I mean, 5.1. That's not bad at all.
Yeah, no, that's workable.
So give me we'll go back to the German style. So give me and I know what the answer is here, a very popular German style lager.
Well,
then-
like there is one, Spaten is one I would think. There's-
Domestically, do we have anything domestic that?
Let's see. I wrote down a couple here, and I don't know if this are the ones that you're thinking, but these are the ones that I've had and I enjoy, and that are kind of regional or something we can get. So Shiner out of Shiner, Texas makes an
Yes.
amazing one.
Yep.
And then Avery has one, and this is one of the only ones that I've ever seen, and there might be more, but the only one I've seen that's been barrel aged, and it's called the Kaiser. I don't know if you've had that or
I
not.
have. Well, I've been to Avery a number of times. It's potentially one of my favorites in Colorado.
Yeah.
So Kaiser's great.
So that's another one that's pretty popular, and it's about the only one that I know of as far as a craft brewer that's doing anything outlandish, and that's only because they barrel aged it.
Right.
So
And you can definitely tell. I mean, it seems darker. I mean,
yeah,
it's
and the alcohol content is boosted pretty good too.
higher. Yes. Yeah. Interesting. So I guess, the more you get into it a little bit, the more it just kind of, I don't know if the flavor profile changes, but it's easy to drink. It's not
Yes.
bad.
It gets a little bit better as it warms up in the glass, I'd say. You have to remember when you go to like an actual Oktoberfest or even the one that's over there, right? They're not giving this in a 10-ounce Dixie cup.
Right.
You're getting it in a liter mug.
The big, what do they call them? The wrist breakers, man.
Yeah,
Those big monsters.
for sure.
Yeah.
So like that's the vessel you're getting this in, right? So it can't be super high. It has to be something that can handle warming because you can't drink it. I mean, you could, but it would be a bad idea to drink it that fast and keep it that temperature. So
Dolan would do that.
he could do it.
Yes,
I'm pretty
he would-
sure
he would do it.
I've heard stories. But that's for most people. That's not in the cards, or
Right.
shouldn't be, right? So you have to have something that can handle that time that it takes to drink that sort of beer,
Sure.
and still be able to function properly and not lose your stuff.
Right. So a little bit on the background, and I love the story because I love family-owned businesses. I love that that persevered. It looks like they were founded in 1867. They were German immigrants from Wisconsin. They moved to Wisconsin, so Chippewa Falls, Wisconsin. I couldn't tell you where that is. I'm not exactly sure.
No, me neither. I've never been there.
No. They have a second location in Milwaukee. I do know where that is.
Okay.
But so let's see, German immigrants, 1867. They were family owned all the way up to 1988 when they sold to Miller Brewing Company, which eventually then became Molson Coors.
Okay.
So Molson Coors owns the Leinenkugel name and brewery now. But what was interesting about this was when Miller Brewing Company, which was a subsidiary of Philip Morris at the time, they kept the Leinenkugel family running the brewery. So all the way back in '88, they kept on the whole family. They kept everything. They just essentially bought all of it,
The name, and then just let them do their thing.
and they just let them do their thing. And and that continued on through that through the evolution from into Molson
Yeah.
Coors. So I like that a lot. I think that says a lot that the family is still involved, and it was from one generation to another. It was a father passed down to the father started, or this would have been a great grandfather, I guess, and then it was a son-in-law that took over all the way up to Prohibition. During Prohibition, they made near beer, they made non-alcoholic beer, and soda water. And then once Prohibition was over, they borrowed money. They mortgaged, the Leinenkugel family mortgaged their houses and everything that they could just to start brewing beer again. So picked it back up, and all the way up to 88 when they were purchased by Miller Brewing Company. So hopefully the family made a decent chunk of cash off that.
Yeah,
it didn't
hopefully.
say how much, but 88, I can't imagine it was a ton. But
Probably not. I mean, and they're still doing it. It obviously runs in the family. That's one of the reasons that I picked this one. And it's not going to like knock your socks off, really. But I know it would be something that most people could get a hold of this time of year.
Yep.
Probably because of that Miller connection, where they can distribute more than obviously Leinenkugels can.
Yep.
The other reason I like this one from these guys is they don't do a lot of seasonals. I think there's 2 or 3. They have like a summer Kolsch, this one, and then there's like the Snowdrift Porter they'd make Christmas time. That's like a chocolate vanilla beer that's pretty good.
Is it?
So,
Right. I know their Summer Shandy is probably one of their most popular ones.
I would
right?
think so.
And that's
which is funny because it's like what's half and half. Basically, a shandy is a half beer and half lemonade, right?
Yep.
So they're making probably most of their money on half of a beer.
on half a beer.
Yeah, and
still
it's probably
costs-
not what great grandpa Leinenkugel thought of when he came over here. But
No.
as long as he kept the doors open, it's probably all right.
I did see that for it was like their 125th anniversary or something. They went back to the original recipe, the original German lager recipe, and they did it, and they made it into just like a one-time shot. I'd be interested to see, one, how that tasted,
Yeah.
and two, how well it sold.
Yeah,
Like if our palates would appreciate
Yeah,
something that
it's always funny because you'll see like Budweiser every once in a while will do some sort of gimmicky thing like that, or like they just had a beer released for the first time in a long time, that red amber one for like 4th of July or Memorial Day or something. Those old names,
Yep.
they carry a lot of weight.
Did you try that one, by the way? Did
Yeah.
you try? Yeah. It was fine.
It reminds me a little bit of this because it has a little sweetness, on the back of this one. It's not, you're not drinking like a cup of syrup or anything, but it's definitely sweeter than in like an IPA or something like that.
Yeah. And the bottles were fun. It was just those little hand grenade bottles were kind of fun. So, brewery tours, it's open Sunday through Wednesday from 10 to 6. And then I believe that's just the Chippewa Falls. They didn't have any, I didn't see any times for the Milwaukee. Maybe that's just a distribution point. I don't know. And then Thursday through Saturday, 11 to 8. It looks like pretty standard for breweries. If they do the tours, they have they do some bands. They have a patio. It looks like almost looks like a like you would think of like an Oktoberfest type of place with lots of patios, lots of outside space.
It's like the European style
Absolutely,
sort of
yeah.
beer garden kind of
a
feel.
barns in the back sort of look.
cool.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. So
I did when I was looking some of this up today, I saw that the one that they have in Munich, the Oktoberfest, they sell was like, what did I write down? 7.7 million liters of this style of beer.
that is a lot.
That's a ton of that one kind of beer. And it's, this isn't around all the time. So if
Right.
you like this kind of beer, this is your time of year to get it.
Yep.
And most places will have one.
Yes.
I know we always talk about Cross Train here because it's our local spot, but I think them and Pint 9 collaborated this year and made like a co-op version. So
which
hoping
I
to get
hope
a hold of that.
to try this evening actually. So
Yeah, we'll see.
we'll see. Yeah, I think you're right. Every bar you go to right now will have some sort of Oktoberfest. More than likely, if it's not Leinenkugels, it'll be the Sam Adams, which seems to evolve just a little bit every year. That seems to be the first one to market too, for whatever reason. Like that's
Yeah.
the first one I can find in stores. It's generally the first one that you'll find on tap
Yeah.
in places, just because of the seasonal Sam Adams taps that are always there.
Yeah, I think and like with these guys, probably they're coming off of their summer shandy taps most places, so
Yep.
they'll be rolling this one in. If it's not there, it'll be there soon.
Yeah. So Leinenkugel's Oktoberfest. I'll tell you, man, I was not looking forward to this, and I could drink another one maybe. I don't know.
There you go. It's better than no beer.
That's true. That is absolutely true. Give it a shot. That was at least the Oktoberfest style. It kind of scared me at first, And once I got into it, I was super happy with it. I can't try enough of them now.
Yeah, I'm a fan of them too. One of my father-in-law's favorite kind of beer too. So this is our time of the year to go get after it and try all the different local varieties. I think Kincaider has a really good one down in Lincoln right now.
They have a fantastic one that I've tried. It was it's really, really good.
And then I saw that somebody said that these would pair good with obviously pretzels, because that's something great, right? And
yes.
then they said pork chops.
Yep.
And then I saw a recipe somebody used to make carrot cake.
Oh.
So they used the beer in the batter,
okay,
and made a carrot cake with it, and then they paired it with that as well. And they said that was pretty good. So
interesting.
Maybe a little sweet matches the beer just a little bit.
I've used it once or twice doing pork loin. When I've smoked a pork loin and I've had to use a liquid in there too, I've used that, and because it's a little more sweet. You have to watch. You have to watch a little bit closely, but for smoking it works. Like smoking a pork loin or something, it works really, really well. So,
dang.
Yeah.
Don't forget about your pizza and tacos.
Well, it always goes with tacos.
It does.
Tacos are good at any time.
Yeah.
But
I don't know if this beer would be good at any time, but tacos would be.
But with tacos, yeah. Next time we're gonna get Dolan a mic, and he can be on with us too.
I think that's a good idea.
I think it's a good idea.
We'll bring that big liter glass and see what he can do with it.
He'd be through 2 of them already.
I don't know if we have the budget for that.
We don't really have the budget for that at all. All right. Next week we're talking more seasonal beers. I don't know exactly which way we're gonna go yet, but I want to stay on that seasonal route. So tune in next week, and we'll do one more.
All right, sounds good. Thanks, Rich.
All right. Thanks, Brian. We'll see you next week.